Welcome back to You Don't Know Ball, another mock draft reaction. We are doing Rhett Lewis's mock draft 1.0. If you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like, let us know in the comments your favorite and least favorite pick from this mock draft, as well as not any trade scenarios, because this is not my mock draft, and I'm obviously referencing Mock Draft Madness. That is going to be dropping later today, day 41 of doing a mock draft every single day until the NFL draft. Let's get into it right now. Let's see if he has anything to say. He said, on the cusp of a potentially historic NFL draft, one that could feature quarterbacks being selected with the first 4 overall picks and a record number of offensive tackles going within the first 32, I'd like to offer some food for thought. What if the Vikings didn't acquire the 23rd overall pick and with the plan to package it with number 11 for a bid at breaking into the top 5 for a quarterback? Many of us assume that was the case, but what if the asking price to make the play for Drake May or Jaden Daniels is simply too high? What if Minnesota isn't enamored enough with J.J. McCarthy to surrender a trove of assets to move the board? But what if they're intrigued by Michael Penix or Bo Nix? Blah, blah, blah. Let's get into it. At number 1, we have the Chicago Bears taking Caleb Williams. Not much to say here. I think this is kind of, might as well start writing it in pen. I find it very hard to believe that the Bears will be moving off of this pick. At number two, the Washington Commanders select Drake May. He says the Commanders have been associated or connected to almost every quarterback worthy of consideration with this pick since the start of the draft process. I think it's pretty obvious that the Commanders are probably not going to be trading out of this pick, but instead selecting one of the quarterbacks. So he said, I keep coming back to May, which I think is the better pick in my opinion. So I do like this pick a lot for the Commanders. At number 3, we have Jaden Daniels. One of the most anemic offenses in football with the last 2 years gets an immediate adrenaline injection with the multi-talented Daniels. While I do agree with that, I think putting him in the situation that he's in with no wide receiver help and the line being kind of shaky, I don't know if you're setting him up for success, especially with the coaching staff that they have there not being like super experienced with play calling. I don't know. I think Daniels to the Patriots is probably one of the worst things that can happen. I would rather almost have J.J. McCarthy going there because at least you can sit him for a year. I don't know if you're sitting Daniels. At number 4, we have the Arizona Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr. I mean, guys, I think beyond after pick 1, 4, and 7, if they're not trading out, Bears taking Caleb Williams, Cardinals taking Marvin Harrison Jr., and the Titans taking Joe Alt, like those are picks that I feel very confident in saying I don't see them changing if they stay at their place in their original draft position. Good pick for the Cardinals. At number 5, we have the Los Angeles Chargers going Joe Alt. I don't like the idea of moving around, linemen. They already have Rashawn Slater at left tackle. Putting Joe Alt there, you probably put him at right. I think Alt is the best tackle in the class. And Harbaugh wants to run the ball. They want to build their team through the trenches. So it's a good pick. I think they do need offensive line, but overall, good selection. At number 6, we have Malik Nabers to the New York Giants. They need a wide receiver that can win downfield. Malik Nabers is that guy. It could be him. It could be Odunze. I think Nabers has a little bit of a leg up on Odunze just in terms of talent. But overall, the Giants can't complain. At number 7, we have the Tennessee Titans, who are left in an awkward position, taking Olu Fashanu. Said, I thought Fashanu could have been a top 10 pick last year, but he chose to return to Penn State. And while his tape this season didn't match the perceived talent, he has huge upside and would still be an instant upgrade of Tennessee's O-line. I would rather go with a Talisa Fuaga, a guy that can play the interior. He can also play tackle. I think he has a little bit more upside than Olu. I think he's a little bit more polished as a blocker, especially in the run game. Obviously, Olu has a lot of upside in terms of pass blocking, but I just think Fuaga is probably the better option here at 7 if you're going to take a tackle at 7. If Joe Alt is not there, I could also see them trading back maybe into the top 12, 13. But yeah, not a horrible pick. I just don't necessarily love Olu at 7. I think he's more of a teens pick. At number 8, we have the Atlanta Falcons taking Dallas Turner. I think he would do really well in this defense. I like Dallas Turner. I don't think he's the best edge, but I think he's probably the first one that's going to be taken because of his age and his athletic ability. Dallas Turner, Falcons have been chasing an edge for quite a while. They didn't land Neil Hunter, so they're going to have to inject some youth and talent into that D line, even though he's probably going to play outside linebacker in this scheme. At number 9, we have the Chicago Bears taking Rome Odunze. If one of the top 3 wide receivers is here, I find it very hard to believe that the Bears are going to pass one up, especially after taking Caleb Williams. They want to build an offense where they can support their guy. Obviously, they need to help their offensive line a little bit, but overall, Rome Odunze is one of those prospects that you don't want to pass up on. At number 10, we have the Denver Broncos trading up with the New York Jets to take J.J. McCarthy. Honestly, if J.J. were there at 11, I believe the Vikings would probably run in the card, but the Broncos make the move to move up 2 spots and take them. This trade presents a more palatable scenario for the Broncos since they don't have a ton of drafts resources to throw at their quarterbacks. This makes sense, especially if the Vikings aren't trading up. Go ahead and get ahead of them. It's not going to take that much. And J.J. McCarthy is now a Denver Bronco, which I think would actually do him very well because I don't think he's going to play this year, and he gets to learn behind one of the best coaches in history, Sean Payton. At number 11, we have the Minnesota Vikings taking Terrion Arnold. Very interesting. Yes, I don't love their CB room. Yes, I think Terrion Arnold is the best cornerback in the class. I do think, though, I would have preferred a defensive lineman. I think that would have made a little bit more sense for them. I honestly love Terrion Arnold. I think it would be a really good fit for the Vikings. I just think a different position could have been better. But overall, I do like the pick. I think it makes their defense instantly better. So it's definitely a pick, more for the future. I guess you're not going to be winning a ton of games this year, and it makes sense. He is really young. He still needs some time to develop, but could work really well in Brian Flores' system. At number 12, we have the New York Jets who traded back with the Denver Broncos to get Talisa Fuanga at pick 12 is incredible. They have 2 tackles. They're kind of older. Fuanga can also play guard if needed, but he can be the succession plan for when Moses and Tyron Smith are gone. Obviously, he has a right tackle, so I would be Morgan Moses, I believe. But overall, very good pick at 12. That's incredible value. At number 13, to the Las Vegas Raiders, we have Michael Penix Jr. I think Penix is probably going to go top 15. I think, if you take out that championship game that he played versus Michigan, I think he probably does go top 15. I think there's better talk about him. My issue with him is him playing under pressure. So I think him going to a team with a good O-line would be, a really, really good fit for him. Really a good fit for any quarterback. But I don't know if I love the Raiders here. He definitely does have the targets in Devontae Adams and a Jacoby Myers, Michael Mayer. But the Raiders need a quarterback, and you don't know if there's a team that might be eyeing Penix late in the first where you're not going to chance to go get him. So good pick for the Raiders. At number 14, we have the New Orleans Saints taking J.C. Latham. He can play right tackle, right guard. They need help on the O-line regardless. Obviously, Trevor Penning hasn't panned out. Ryan Ramchek's, like he said, his knee is kind of fucked. So putting J.C. Latham, who might be one of the strongest players in the draft, in that position is a very good pick for the New Orleans Saints. At number 15, we have the Indianapolis Colts taking Brock Bowers. I think this is more of a reality than a lot of people think. I think the Colts really, really like Brock Bowers, and I think pairing him with Michael Pittman Jr. and Josh Downs adds another weapon for Anthony Richardson to develop and grow with. I think if you put Bowers around a guy like Anthony Richardson and you can make him your safety blanket, and the thing is you can play Bowers in the slot, there is just so much around Anthony Richardson, especially with an offensive play caller and offensive coordinator with a Shane Steichen. I don't see how Anthony Richardson can't be, I'm going to put this out there for the first time, a dark horse MVP candidate. Like, I think he can be that good this year. I was really high on Anthony Richardson last year. He's my favorite quarterback coming out of the draft. Obviously, I was not the same player at all, but I was a big RG3 player. RG3 guy. I just love the way Richardson plays the game. And even when he played last year, he just looked so polished before he got hurt. Like, he looked way ahead of where everyone thought he would be, and everyone was calling him super raw. Yeah, he was raw, but not what I thought it would be. At number 16, we have the Seattle Seahawks taking Troy Fautanu. Makes a lot of sense to me. Guy that can play 5 positions. They desperately need help on the interior. Their tackles were banged up a little bit last year. This guy is a good football player and instantly improves their offensive line. I know Geno Smith will be really happy. Sam Howell will be happy as well with this draft pick. At number 17, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars on the clock. They are taking Quinyon Mitchell. So Quinyon Mitchell is probably CB1B to me. I really do like Quinyon. I think, if you're going to compare Quinyon and Terrion Arnold, I think the skill is just a little bit more there with Terrion Arnold because he did it at a higher level. But Quinyon Mitchell is nothing to scoff at. He had a great career at Toledo, and the Jacksonville Jaguars desperately need another position or another player in that cornerback room. And I think pairing him with Tyson Campbell gives you a pretty decent cornerback room. So, at number 18, we have the Minnesota Vikings trading up with the Cincinnati Bengals to take Bo Nix. I think this could work out for them. I think Bo Nix actually would do really well in like a Shanahan system. I know Kevin O'Connell has his own system, but it is from the Shanahan tree. Bo Nix has a good arm, but I don't know if it has like a ton of arm strength. I don't know if he has the greatest arm strength. And in the Shanahan offenses, they don't ask you to push the ball downfield a ton. And Bo Nix with a Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson, Aaron Jones could really, really excel. And if this is the route the Vikings go, I would be very, very nervous as a Bears fan. I like this pick a lot, actually. At number 19, we have the Los Angeles Rams taking Jared Verse. If Verse is there at 19, I think you can run in the card. Same with Latu. I think both of these guys are game changers, and the Los Angeles Rams desperately need help on the defensive line. At number 20, we have the Pittsburgh Steelers. They need tackle help, but they also need center help. And Graham Barton does have 5-position versatility, 5-position flexibility, as he says. I don't know. They say he's arguably the best center prospect. I would probably say that's Jackson Powers Johnson. Now, I, in this position, would give the leg up to Graham Barton because he just has that ability to play tackle. And if someone goes down and you need him and you need your best 5, Graham Barton can kick out there. So that's why I'll give him the leg up on JPJ. But overall, good pick for the Steelers who need to solidify their offensive line. I do think what he says in Byron Murphy would have been nice here, and I actually think he's probably a better player. But overall, when you go trenches, I cannot complain. At number 21, we have the Miami Dolphins going Laiatu Latu. He says, and with the uncertainty around Bradley, Chubb, and Jalen Phillips will be fully healthy following their season-ending injuries, the former Bruin fills a need as well. Laiatu Latu is probably edge 1 without the medical history. And we've seen if teams want to be dominant, they need to have a good pass rush rotation. There can't just be 2 guys. There needs to be other guys in the room, and Laiatu Latu adds depth. And we saw, both those guys got hurt last year. So if you can add an even deeper pass rush, the whole point is you want to load up your offense so you can go win a shootout with another team. But if you cannot, the thing with the AFC is there's so many shootouts because there's so many good quarterbacks. If you don't have a guy if you don't have a defensive line that can make the other quarterback get the ball out quicker, those shootouts just become so much harder. And we see teams with deep pass rushes and deep pass rush rotations do the best. So I really do like this pick for the Miami Dolphins if they're not going to go defensive interior after losing Christian Wilkins. And number 22, we have the Philadelphia Eagles going Nate Wiggins. I think the Eagles desperately need to go cornerback here. I also think they could trade up and get a guy like a Terrion Arnold or a Quinyon Mitchell. And Nate Wiggins is a very athletic, tall, lengthy corner who if he puts on some weight, I think can be a really good player for the Philadelphia Eagles. Pairing him with CJ Gardner-Johnson, who I know is more of a safety, but I think, you add some youth to that DB room and you put him in there with Slay and Bradbury, and I think you're starting to cook a little bit. At number 23, we have the Cincinnati Bengals on the clock. They are taking Tyler Guyton. So Tyler Guyton is a project, but he can be one of the better tackles in the league if he develops into what he's supposed to be. I think learning behind Orlando Brown Jr. and Trent Brown could lead him to be doing that. You don't have to play him right away, but in cases where you need him to get a couple snaps, he can probably play. Like, he's not bad. He's just very, very raw. And if the Bengals are able to develop him into what they think he could be, you have really good tackles for the foreseeable future. And, it doesn't put you in a ton of pressure, where it's if you do lose Trent Brown next year, you're not like struggling to find another tackle. And the Bengals have done a very good job of drafting for the future, and this would be a futuristic succession pick. At number 24, we have the Dallas Cowboys, who desperately need O-line help. They need a center after losing Tyler Biadasz to the Washington Commanders. Jackson Powers-Johnson is sitting easily on the board for them, and I think this is a no-brainer pick unless they're going to go for a tackle like an Amarius Mims. You fix the interior of the offensive line with Jackson Powers-Johnson, who can play all three positions. At number 25, we have the Green Bay Packers taking Amarius Mims. Like I was just saying, I think, Packers fans don't want to do this because they have had success developing later round guys into being very good starters for them, but you got to look at it this way. What if you take Amarius Mims, a guy who has top 5 tackle potential in the NFL because of his speed, size, all his traits, and you develop him into be your tackle for the next 10 years? Like, I don't see why you wouldn't want to do that, because this guy can be that. And especially with your history of developing guys, especially after losing David Bakhtiari, you could have a very special left tackle or right tackle prospect here. At number 26, we have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers taking Brian Thomas Jr. I don't like this, especially with both the interior defensive linemen on the board here. They do need help on that defensive line and even cornerback. Brian Thomas Jr., yes, he can be the succession plan to a Mike Evans, but Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Brian Thomas Jr. would be great. I don't know how much that improves the Buccaneers right now, maybe down the line. I honestly think it's a perfect position for Brian Thomas Jr. because it allows him to learn from 2 very, very good receivers, and I think that's what he needs, because I think if there's a team that tries to make Brian Thomas Jr. be their one, it's probably going to be a little bit of a rough ride. But if you're able to put him behind them, I think they could have maybe one of the best receiver trios in the NFL. At number 27, we have the Arizona Cardinals taking Byron Murphy. Yeah, if you're able to get Marvin Harrison Jr. and Byron Murphy, you have won the first round. I think that is a very, very good pick for them. The fact that he falls to 27 is a little bit questionable to me. I don't think he probably makes it past 25, but at the end of the day, you can't, every mock draft is going to be different, and we don't know how the NFL draft is going to go, so maybe he does fall. But I do really like the pick. I think really the thing about the Cardinals is as long as you take the best player available, you're improving your team. At number 28, we have the Buffalo Bills taking Cooper DeJean. I like this because they do need to improve their secondary after their purge, but I definitely think they do need to go wide receiver, strictly because their next pick is at 60, I believe, and I don't know if I trust the guys at 60 to be like a wide receiver 2 or 1. I know the wide receiver class is deep, and Cooper DeJean is a very good corner, or safety. I know a lot of people think he's going to play safety, so I don't know. I don't really like this pick for the Bills. At number 29, we have the Detroit Lions going Julian McKinstry. I think it makes a lot of sense because they do need cornerback help, and he is a good player. And I think Dan Campbell would like him. So at the end of the day, the Lions desperately need secondary, and he is the best secondary player available. So we're going to go Julian McKinstry. At number 30, we have the Baltimore Ravens taking Jer'Zhan Newton. I like this pick a lot. Pairing him with Justin Madubuike could be scary. I know they need more edge help. So while I think, maybe going edge here like a Chop Robinson, that would have been nice. But Jer'Zhan Newton, for the talent, it gets really hard to pass him up if he's sitting there at 30. So I get why he did that. At number 31, we have the San Francisco 49ers taking Chop Robinson. So you need O-line, you need corner, but let's go D-line. I don't hate the pick. I think anytime you go trenches, it is a good pick. And I think Chop Robinson is one of those guys who could easily go in the first round. Very raw, very, very freaky, fast delivery, like fucking, what is that, Quiznos? Freaky fast first step. And I love the way he plays. He's got a high motor, high energy, and I believe he had a pretty good pass rush win rate last year. So if you pair him with a Nick Bosa and whoever else they got on that line right now, I think you are set up for success. At number 32, we have the Kansas City Chiefs upgrading their corner room after losing L'Jarius Sneed with Ennis Rakestraw Jr. He's local because he's in Missouri. They do need a corner. I don't know if I would take him over TJ Tampa. He had a really low RAS score. And I know it's not the end all be all, but I don't know if that's someone that is going to be like a star in the league. I think he can be a pretty good corner. I would have probably leaned wide receiver here, or even like a Jordan Morgan at tackle. Overall, not a bad pick. They do need a cornerback. TJ Tampa is there. Kamari Lassiter's there as well. I don't know how Rakestraw is going to go in the draft, honestly. I think he could end up at the end of the second, maybe even beginning of the third. Well, this has been Rhett Lewis's Mock Draft 1.0. I did enjoy it. Did have some kind of out there picks. I do like the Minnesota Vikings going kind of the Bo Nix route at 18. So if you don't know ball and want to know ball, be sure to subscribe, leave a like. Let me know in the comments your favorite and least favorite pick from this mock draft. Thank you guys so much for watching. We're getting closer to the NFL draft. Let me know if there's any other mocks you guys want me to react to. I've been mainly sticking to NFL.com just because they have a good mix of analysts and, I like the guys on there. But if there's other sites you want me to do, let me know. Thank you guys so much for watching. Have a great rest of your night.